All right, hello everyone. Welcome to the definitive LARP stories from Warcry 2024 Underworld LARP. I had an amazing weekend. It was just like putting it flatly right up front, you know, right in the intro. It was a fucking awesome game. It was really good. Okay? Like, really good. Like of LARPs I've played in the last 10 years, it was peak. It was a peak game. I can never say what the best games are because you don't remember the games individually. You remember the experience, right? Like, overall, over a long period of time. But I can say I'm going to remember this one. Okay? I can definitely say that. It's peak. It's awesome. It was very cool. Anyway, now that I'm done absolutely glazing the hell out of, our organizational team and their badass ability to bring probably the best LARP at a large scale together, I can move on. Basically, it was really great. And I'll say that again later, probably, in a various more specific manners. For those of you who don't know what Underworld LARP Warcry is, this is sort of the global event, like the invite everyone from all the guilds to come together to do a big LARP together that is usually held far away from me. It's usually held out east in, Eastern Canada somewhere in, like, the Toronto area. But we got lucky. We got a Warcry out west this year, hosted by my very own home guild and favorite guild to visit, Underworld LARP Zenistrand and Umberflow, co-running this fantastic event. And it was run on the site that I usually LARP at, the Underworld Zenistrand site. It was super nice to be on familiar territory, even with many unfamiliar people, Cool. Good time. One of these happens, like, basically once a year, We get a bunch of people together from all across the guilds. Now, a usual Underworld Zenistrand game is like 40 people. You know what I mean? These days, it's about 40 people, 50 people-ish. There were 130 people. I want to say 130 people on site. It felt like 120, 130 people. It was like a 3 times as large game than I've been used to in a long time. That's a lot. That's a lot of people. That's a very large LARP, That's excellent. I love it for our usual situation. That is intense. That was intense. So to lay the groundwork a little bit story-wise, here is what is happening, okay? I'll give you the overlay, right? Everyone has been invited by the Dragon of Spiders and Contracts, whose name is Ixiad, to come and witness and influence the birth of a new god, to see what happens to a magical acorn that basically will birth a new god based on the influence of the various camps that will be present: dark, light, savage, and dragon. These are sort of our factions, right? And so this dragon Ixiad has had this acorn for a long time, since the savage gods were born, because they also were born from acorns in the lore. And this one is just like leftover, right? It's a leftover. But yes, the Dragon of Spiders and Contracts, Ixiad. We are on her territory for this game, right? We are invited to her home, where she resides, to see the acorn and to influence it with the divine essences that we are granted by our various factional gods and quests and so forth, to create a new god in the image of what essences influence it. Now, the wrench in the works here is that someone else wants the acorn. And the other person who wants the acorn? The Hell King. The King of Hell. The Big Kahuna. Demon numero uno. Wants the acorn for himself. Because who knows what power such a thing could have if it were influenced by the Infernal, after all. Right? 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 You know you want that. You know you want that god acorn. Hell yes. And so, our job for the weekend was basically make sure that we influence the acorn more than the Hell King does, and that whatever is birthed from it is not a demon prince god, right? We want not that. But also we want what our camps want, right? Light wants a light god, Savage wants a savage god, Dark wants a dark god. You know, like, in theory, Dragon Camp, I don't know what they want. I think it was binding a demon prince in the end. But that's a whole thing. That's a whole thing. I'll explain that as we go, right? So, we're introduced into the game, right? Well, first of all, I went around to the various camps and saw a bunch of people that I hadn't seen in a really long time, and that was super cool to be like, hey, how's it going? I haven't seen you in like 4 years. Let's LARP together. It's very exciting, right? I always love doing that and trying to make friends and say hi to people. Hello, everybody who might be watching this that I said hi to this weekend. By the way, before I get into what we did, let's talk about what I did. I played the High Elven Worshipper of the God of Magic. The God of Magic is named Salam, for those of you who are interested, because you'll probably hear that name a couple of times. The High Elven Worshipper of the God of Magic, Marika Devereaux. High Elven Protections and Sigil Caster, and definitely 100% not also a witch. Don't murder me. Please, please, I'm not a witch. Definitely not 100%. But hypothetically, if I was, you wouldn't have to worry about me anyway. My patron doesn't like the Hell King. It's fine. Okay? Okay. Excellent. Good. All right, I'm glad we're clear. But so, I was playing my High Elven magic person, basically. High Elven mage. I was part of Light Camp, technically. Light/neutral camp. Because Salam is a god who is a light god, technically. He's in the light god pantheon. But he's sort of cool with everybody because he's the god of magic, and, like, who doesn't like magic in the end? Who doesn't use magic? Even if you're a worshiper of the god of slaughter, you can respect that Salam helps slaughter things, in theory, right? You know, god of magic, it's good for you. It's good for everyone. Generally, I was a helpful support character throughout the weekend. That was sort of my role. I was giving people magic to help them fight demons. I was giving people dispel magics to get rid of horrible effects that witches had cast on them. That kind of stuff. I cast maybe 3 witchcraft spells the whole weekend because I was terrified that if anybody found out I was a witch, I would be absolutely fucking murdered. So, you know, we played it careful. We played it out of sight, or we played it desperate when we had to cast witchcraft spells, okay? Friday night, we were all sort of marshaled together near the plot camp and given the orientation for the game. Now, I've basically briefed you on that, which is the story as it stands, right? Each camp wants to influence the acorn. As we're being led into game, we hear a message. Ixiad wants to speak to you. The dragon of spiders and contracts, Ixiad, wants to speak to us all. Like, marshal us all together, and she's gonna talk to us. It is very, 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 very rare I wanna preface this to get direct contact NPC-wise from any dragon, any god, any major plot figure. And it basically only happens, you know, either under extreme circumstances or at these Warcry events. If you want to interact with the lore of Underworld at its peak power, at its biggest characters, it's these Warcry events where you can do that, right? So, Ixiad wants to talk to us. Okay, excellent. I want to meet the god of spiders and contracts. Totally. We head into town as a big blob, and standing under this flaming light, this pole light that's like fed by gasoline and fire spouting out the top, is Siobhan, my lovely partner, dressed in the garb of Ixiad. I did not know she would be playing Ixiad. Because she's doing an NPC thing for the weekend. So she got to play Ixiad as her like major role. She was on plot for the whole weekend. And it's Siobhan, and she's dressed as Ixiad, and Ixiad's garb in her like human form is this half human, half spider, very elegant, very vain, but very volatile sort of aesthetic, right? She's got like these sort of spider legs coming out from the back of her dress. You can see like the bulbous abdomen, you know, like behind her, like you know, and she's got this big spider bodyguard as well. But also like nobody can fuck with a dragon. Like, she doesn't need a bodyguard. She could literally just say like power word area obliterate and we'd all die and everybody would be like, yeah, that's about right. You know, like that's the level of power these creatures have. And so she gave us a speech. It was like, welcome to my home. Nice to have you all here. Do whatever you want with the acorn. I don't really care. You know, like, have fun, enjoy. Thanks for coming. You know, I'm super happy that you're here. You know, like that whole kind of vibe. Very like malicious, but welcoming. It was played absolutely to the hilt, and I loved it. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't yell so that everybody could hear. And so you could see the whole crowd sort of like leaning forward to listen to her. And she's, you know, she's great. I love her. I mean, it's Siobhan. She's a role player extraordinaire. I'm not biased. And then at the end of the speech, she goes, oh, and one more thing. I have one rule while you're here. Do not harm the spiders. The spiders are off limits. They are my children, and if you harm them, you will suffer the consequences. Okay, don't harm the spiders. That's the one rule. Everything else is fair game. Okay, sick. All right. The only rule, don't bother the spiders. Got it. She moves off. And she brings all the dragon followers with her. She says, like, anybody who's sworn to the Draconic, come with me. And she moves off with them. And obviously I'm not sworn to the Draconic, so I have no idea what went down over there. Siobhan says Siobhan told me a little bit off to the side. It's not my experience, but she told me off to the side. She said, like, I had this sweet throne room scene where I was, like, in this little grove that exists on the site where we put all these webs up, and I was just sitting in this throne and, like, talking to the dragon followers, being very spooky, and that it was super fun. I didn't get all the details, right? But she thought it went really well. But I'm left, you know, standing in a field, like, okay, well, I guess I better figure out what we're doing. And so I tried to coordinate a little with my light camp friends, my neutral camp friends, folks like Theoclea and Havoc who were there. Theoclea is a worshiper of Cassandra, who's like the god of mercy and life and what have you, and she's sort of like the loudest voice in light camp. And while I would say that light and neutral camp was the largest contingent numerically, we were also probably the very, very weakest of the 4 camps that existed. I'm 100% sure that when it comes to light camp, we were gonna have the least amount of say, you know? Because, like, martially, we're not as strong as dark camp. They're all very intense. They're all very, like, yeah, we've got 12, 13, 14 different chosen of various dark gods over here. Meanwhile, light camp doesn't have a single person who's, like, the favored of any of their gods, and it's just, like, we're just chilling, you know what I mean? We only had 2 real, actual light followers, me and Theo. What are you... You're not counting me?! How dare you? I worship Salam! Light God! What? Huh? How? Everybody always forgets about me! Ugh. God. This is how I felt the whole fucking weekend, by the way. Every time anything was happening, anytime everything was happening, it was like, oh, well, Marika's not really like a light follower. I'm like, hello? But Salam's kind of the ugly stepchild of the light pantheon, to be fair, because he has things like learn everything you can, use necromancy, use witchcraft, whatever the fuck you need to do, you know what I mean, kind of stuff. So I get why people don't include me, but I definitely had a couple of those moments where I'm like, what do you mean? I'm also a light follower. So I tried to marshal up a little bit, talk to folks, and generally make introductions, but it wasn't long until more stuff was kicking off all around us, right? Dark Camp had all, marched off somewhere, and I could hear the sounds of horrible violence and the chanting of the god of blood's name, Bog. So Bog was a central figure for Dark Camp, it seemed, this event. Bog, where they got their sort of divine missions, it seemed like, and there were often chants of Bog, 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 Bog going on somewhere, and some horrible violence going on. But again, it's like 10 p.m., 11 p.m., it's dark, I don't know where anybody is. I'm not gonna run towards the sounds of violence and chanting for the god of slaughter. Hard pass. I don't want to do that. So I went about setting up my little circle where I was going to spend most of the weekend, because my character is a protections caster, which means she has the ability to create a circle of protection, which is a very, very hard thing for anything to get through unless it has ritual magic, basically. So, like, only the strongest demons will be able to get through a circle of protection in the end, right? So I thought, I'll lay out my rope, that will determine my circle, and I'll put it here, and I'll put my camp chair in the middle of it, and this will be my home for most of the weekend, right? I was seated in a very central location, in between all of the camps, because I was staying in Wayne's cabin, with Wayne's character, Ramirez, and a few others, including, Mike, playing Robert, my Einish bodyguard. Big barbarian bodyguard, Robert. Who we roleplayed as being a hired mercenary for me for the weekend, so that we had a reason to hang out, you know what I mean? But I sort of situated myself between the camps, and I did a lot of roaming around throughout the weekend, like talking to all kinds of other people and so forth and so on. Situating between camps was interesting, because obviously I wasn't privy to any of the, like, big conversations, but I got to talk to lots of different people. It's sort of like how it went. But I haven't finished with Friday night. So I hear Bog stuff chanting in the distance. Sounds violent, sounds bad. I'm not going to run and help. I'm pretty sure Dark Camp has it under control. They don't need me to bolster their forces. They've probably got the strongest camp when it comes to, like, martial ability in the entirety of the 4 camps. The Dragon Camp is probably close behind. I'm looking around, and suddenly, what should happen? But Light Camp's god, arrives. The godly representative of Light Camp, played by the organizer of Umberflow, Colin, who is a fantastic role player and individual. Roland arrives. Roland, in a streak of light, the god of justice, the god of law and order, the god, sort of head god, really, of the Light Pantheon, you know, the most reasonable of gods, the god of lawful good paladinisms is how I would describe Roland. Which, is great, but I really hoped he couldn't read my mind. I was very concerned that he would be able to just tell that I was a bad person somehow. Light Camp assembles around him, and he says, I am here to speak to those who follow the light. And also I need to speak to a yokai named Theoclea. Getting called out by name by a god is probably bad. And Theo steps forward and she's like, hi, that's me? And Roland looks at her, disappointed, and goes, we'll talk later. Because Theo's been making some moves and shakes regarding making demon deals to save people's lives and generally get her children back from horrible witches who kidnap them and so forth, and she's in very deep right now. Things are bad. Making bad choices for good reasons, you know? Roland gives a little speech and says, I require 10 of you who will swear to follow the light and to defeat the demons. And Light Camp and Neutral Camp are sitting there looking at Roland, and there's a moment of hesitation, there's some quiet, and then, of course, a couple of people start stepping forward, right? And as they step forward, they shake Roland's hand, and they get a greater blessing of Roland. So, a greater blessing is the kind of magic that could be used to defend you from even ritual-level bad spells, you know? You could expend it to defend yourself against, like, a ritual death, which is, like, very powerful magic. A greater blessing is a big deal. It's very cool. So, you know, people step forward and they go, I'll serve the light, and they shake hands with Roland and get a greater blessing of Roland. And I'm thinking to myself, I won't do it if there's no lull. But if there's a lull, I'll step forward and I'll shake Roland's hand, because I don't want it to be awkward where, like, a bunch of Light Camp is just not shaking the hand of the god that came to see them, because there's just not as many light followers as there are other things, right? And and so there's a moment of hesitation, and in that moment I step forward and I say, I'll follow the light, you know, I'll defeat the demons, and I shake Roland's hand. I have never been more scared of being instantly obliterated than I was in that moment. In that moment, I was 100% sure that shaking the god of law and order's hand while I had a witchcraft spell memorized on spirit, ready to go, was gonna be the end of me. I was so sure I was fucked. But I did it anyway. I did it anyway because who doesn't love getting good ass magic from gods, right? You know? And I shook Roland's hand, and Roland was like, good. I channel Roland to grant greater blessing of Roland. Do you accept? You know? Yes, I accept. You know, and I step back. I've got my greater blessing. I take a breath. I'm not dead, right? It continues. There's a little bit of discussion of things with Roland. Roland takes Theo aside. They talk about something. I don't know what it was. Really, it's just that, like, acclimatizing to being in character, talking to people kind of a moment on Friday night. Then, Savage Camp comes marching up, and at the head of the Savage Camp column, who is it but the God of Thunder and the leader of the Savage Pantheon himself, Valder. Valder's sort of your Thor. He's like a Thor guy. You know, he's like a god of heroes and lightning. I think Valder and Roland get into a bit of a conversation that was sort of hostile. You know, there was a little bit of posturing going on there between them. God wrestling. Yeah, exactly. And then all tension is broken by the fact that demons start pouring out of a nearby portal and attacking everyone. And everybody starts grouping together and fighting these demons, you know? There's the first combat of the game, and everybody's raring to go. It's dark, everything's illuminated by torchlight and fire, and everybody's, you know, kind of scrunched together, and I watched Roland point at a demon and go, obliterate demon, and it just exploded. It was cool, you know? There was a whole bunch of that kind of thing going on, right? Whole bunch of scrapping, fighting, action. Just getting everybody used to the power level at play. The smallest demon we basically saw the entire weekend was a greater hellhound, so that speaks to, like, demon waves were going out where balrogs were the crunchies. And when I say crunchies, what I mean is, like, expendable NPCs, you know, like the sort of, like, you would send one boss and, like, a bunch of crunchies, you know? Balrogs were the crunchies, you know? And these are fucking bosses in other circumstances. And so it was, you know, it was a whole thing. But as things quieted down and it looked like Roland was gonna leave, I ran up to Roland because, I remembered that Salam, god of magic, my god, was the one who makes all the equipment for the gods, you know? He enchants the magic swords. He builds the magic cloaks and armor, you know, that the light gods use, which is why he's a light god. You know, he gets the bro pass because he uses his magic to help the light gods, basically. But that means that Roland's sword is some of the best work the god of magic has ever done. And I had to see it. I had to see it. So I run over to Roland as he's, like, leaving after the waves of demons are dealt with and he's had his various conversations and it's time for gods to go away now. I run up to Roland and I say, Roland, please, before you leave, I'm a worshiper of Salam and I would very much like to see your magic sword. The sword that Salam made for you. Roland goes, all right. He takes his sword out of its sheath and he lays it across his hands and he shows me. He's not holding the hilt of the sword. He is offering it to me like I should touch it. You know? There's this moment where I think to myself, do I reach out and take the hilt of the god of justice's sword? The god of law and order's sword. My fingers were fucking twitching, let me tell you. I wanted to do it just to see what would happen. But I'm not that stupid. So I looked it over. It's a buffer sword, you know, we're doing roleplay. It's not special in any way out of game. I look it over and I'm like, wow, I can see the weave, I can see the enchantments. This is work beyond anything I could possibly imagine. Thank you, Roland. Thank you for showing me this, you know, and I let him put it away. But there was a moment I wish I knew what would have happened if I'd have touched it. I'd have probably been completely fucking destroyed, but you know what? Ugh, it's very tempting. He puts it away, and he walks off. I didn't think being in his presence any longer than I needed to was a good idea, necessarily. Because, well, you know, the longer he looks at me, the more he might realize that I'm a horrible person and have made, you know, bad choices and should be just necessarily obliterated. Yeah, part of Roland's costume, now that Wraith mentions it, is this, like, was this light-up halo behind his head. And yes, it was perfect. It was fucking fantastic. It was awesome. It was very, very good. In the dark, oh. Great effect. Very, very good. All of the gods and dragons were fantastically garbed, honestly. Will, the person playing Valder, looked exactly like the image of Valder from the wiki, you know? Yeah, I mean, Roland obviously looked like I would imagine Roland to look like. And Colin, just the perfect NPC, the perfect person to play Roland, I think. I didn't get to see Ba. I heard that Ba made an appearance, but I never saw him. We were introduced to the mechanic of the weekend, right? The mechanic of the weekend. And what this was there were some pillars, and each of these pillars represented the influence of each camp on the acorn in the center. And nobody could touch the acorn, because if you touched it, you got tossed back 20 feet and stuck into a web. You know, Ixiad had, like, trapped it. You can't touch the acorn. And so what we had to do is we had to collect essence to add to the pillars. And each essence that you added to the pillars would grow the pillar by 1 block, and each block represented, you know, your relative influence over the acorn, and thus the relative influence over the god inside the acorn. Did I get to keep the divine blessing? I did. I had that greater blessing of Roland on my spirit until the last mod of the game, until Monday morning, when I used it to defend myself against, like, a ritual fuck you. I can't remember what ritual fuck you it was, but some kind of ritual fuck you. Which is good. I was glad I had it, because if I got hit by an obliterate or something in that last mod, it was my final line of defense. What did we do Friday night? There were a couple more waves of demons, I think, on Friday night. There were a couple of, like, fights. A lot of Friday night is, like, introducing yourself to people and getting to know the various camps. It was clear very early that Dark Camp was going to have a very loud voice in everything, because one of their individuals, whose character name is Perthro, but who I don't remember the name of out of game, I'm sorry, Perthro, basically was, like, the big speech giver all weekend, you know? You know, when you have a group of, like, 100 people, somebody needs to go, "Everyone listen up! Here's what we're gonna do!" It was Perthro, basically, the whole weekend. You need a Braveheart. You need a yelling loudly guy to tell everybody what the plan is and to encourage everybody and hype people up, and it was Perthro. The great thing about these kinds of events is, even though we were all separated into camps, we all wanted the demons to lose, right? And so people who wouldn't usually work together or even allow each other to be in each other's presence for more than, like, 1 fucking second were standing shoulder to shoulder and fighting together, right? The necromancers and the various other, like, light followers and the whatever, all working together. I mean, I think probably if I had said I was a witch, that would have been a problem. But I didn't, and so we were fine. Everything was fine. It was all good. No worries. I keep my witchcraft to myself, thanks. But all the various camps kind of worked together when it was needed, and I really think a lot of this is due to the scale of the threats. The demons were not fucking around. The Hell King wanted this done. He was sending his fucking best, right, to deal with this, right? It's literally just that the threats were so massive that without everyone, you wouldn't win. One camp alone versus some of the waves of stuff that we fought, they'd be dead. They'd all be dead, right? But together, we managed. Friday night was fighting demons, making introductions, and seeing the gods and dragons. Saturday morning, I awoke bright and early. A nice 7:30 wake up. I had a coffee, because I brought coffee with me. I went out to my little circle of protection in the center of town. I had this blue and white rope, this fantastic blue and white rope, very visible from any distance, that I laid in a circle around my little chair, and I watched the world go by for a little while. You know, the early mornings are always interesting because people are still waking up, and there's a thing in Underworld and a thing in a lot of LARPs called a wake up mod. And these are basically like, we're gonna make a lot of noise and get people out of their tents, right? You know, wake people up, get them going, get them moving, let people know that shit has started, basically. The problem with the wake up mods at Warcry is that they're like 17 hellhounds. And, I had stupidly picked a location in the center of town where I was kind of near to all the places the demons came out of, it seemed like. And who was the first person they all looked at? Me, basically, most of the time. Because I'm just sitting there kind of by myself, you know? I have like maybe one or two people with me that I'm talking to, or, you know, whatever, right? But I'm just chilling. So, yeah. The Saturday morning wake-up mod, I was expecting, you know, some imps, some little demons, some shit to just, like, get the camps going, whatever. No. It was, 17 hellhounds, basically. Just like a wave, or it felt like 17 hellhounds, or maybe like 12, but it felt like a wave of hellhounds. And not a lot of people were awake yet on that Saturday night. People stay up late on that Friday, you know? And, credit to our fighters, credit to our folks who can fight demons in a reasonable way. I can't without my witchcraft, and I wasn't gonna cast fucking witchcraft spells and, you know, at them, in plain visibility of other people. People come running quick when you yell demons. If you're like, demons! Demons are here! Help! Yeah, people show up, right? Like, from various places. They get out of their tents, they grab their weapons, and they fucking run over, right? I try and do the same, you know, when I can, from other locations, but my contribution to any fight is mostly just buffing fighters. Because Sigil is a great buffing sphere, so is Protections. That wake-up mod made me blow a Circle of Protection. So Circle of Protection is a level 9 spell. I only have a couple of these every day. That wake-up mod came running at me, screaming at me, like, 5 hellhounds headed in my direction. There's no way I'm getting away without getting my ass beat. Fuck that. Cast my Circle of Protection. Stand behind it. Be safe. I was very selfish with this thing the whole weekend. I wasn't like, quick, everybody run to the circle so I can put it up. I just put it up when I needed it, and that was that. It got to a point where people were handing me Circle of Protection scrolls because they knew I would just cast it, you know? That if they needed to come and run and hide, that I would be there. I had a rope down, they knew where to go, and I could cast it for them. But it's super funny when you're standing inside a Circle of Protection, looking out at demons, and you're just watching like, oh shit, that poor orc just got his ass fucking destroyed by like 4 hellhounds. Ooh, oh, ow, ooh, ow, sorry, bud. Ooh. You know, can't help ya. I'm in the circle. I want to help, don't get me wrong. But I also want to live. As soon as the wave of hellhounds started, like, moving onward, you know, to another camp or, like, further away, what I did was I dispelled the Circle of Protection, ran out, and force-fed some remedies that I had to people who were on the ground, because I have anatomy, I can check people, I can make sure they're okay, that they're in their, you know, their appropriate counts, you know. I can check if they're bleeding or dying, and heal people. So the idea was triage after the wave of destruction, you know? I felt like I helped a little, you know, a little bit. So that's good, you know. I do usually sit in my chair and sip coffee while I watch people die, but I'm not totally heartless. You know, I'm not totally heartless. I prefer to think of it as strategy rather than cowardice. You know? I'm a high elf. What do you want? And you'll see that a trend generally is that there's lots of murder and lots of demons at any given point. Now, we were given an option of things to do with our essence. We could create a stack on the pillar to influence the god, or we could close a hell portal, meaning that NPCs couldn't, like, spawn from there anymore. So there were sort of different ways we could do things, if we wanted to influence the battlefield. So there were, like, these actual portals, these hula hoops laying around that are portals, you know? And in the portals, there was always a description that was like, this is a portal to the Gulf of Perdition. If you enter this portal, you take 10 elemental fire per second. If this kills you, come and see plot. You know? And then a description of, like, what the Gulf of Perdition looks like through the portal. Or, you know, what the Miserbog looks like through the portal. Or what the, you know, various things, right? Which is super cool. I really like that, because as a character who would probably know, it was nice to be able to, like, read the lore and then internalize the lore in-game. Very nice. I really wanted to go into a hell portal and have a conversation with a demon, and, you know, if a powerful enough demon had talked to me, I'd have been like, you guys remember the Black Witch, the Hell King's right hand? She was a little bitch, and I'm way cooler. I should be the new Black Witch. Hook me up. I'll fucking game for you, okay? I'll do it. If I had been able to have that conversation, I'd have had it. I'd have had that conversation in a heartbeat. Let me tell you. I was waiting for my opportunity. It didn't come, and I'm not a moron, but still, there's no way I was getting into hell, I'll tell you what. Everything kind of blurs together. There's a lot of demon attacks. What was the first thing that I, like, went and did? The first mod that I was part of, in a very nice way, was related to Salam. The god Salam. My god. Yay! You know? Yay! God Salam! So, this NPC comes wandering in, played by Doug, one of the shapers for the game. Comes wandering in, and he's, like, chasing an ephemeral spirit of something. I go up to him and I'm like, hey, what are you doing? And he invokes Salam. He's like, I'm following the essence of Salam. I'm following the power. Don't you feel it? Don't you feel the essence? I'm following Salam's magic. And of course, as soon as he says this, I'm like, hell yes! Let's follow Salam's magic. I want to know where it goes. And so I'm following him. And he's like, there's a ritual I have to do. There's a ritual I have to do for Salam. I have to make sure that I can close one of the portals. I can change its destination. We can send it to Salam's heaven. You know, and I'm like, yes, instead of hell, let's send the portal to Salam's heaven. That sounds awesome. I want to go there. I want to read all the books in the library. Let's go. I want to open a portal to Salam's heaven. Let's go. God of Magic's heaven. Let's open a portal there instead. Sounds good. So I follow him, and we end up at one of the demon portals, and he starts setting out a ritual circle, and he says, are you a ritual caster? And I'm not a ritual caster. I'm trying to do breadth of magic rather than height of magic on my character, so it's all spell slots but no rituals. You know? Rituals are sort of the higher level magic. They're above the level 9 spells. You have rituals, which take, like, they do very big effects, but they take a long time to, like, put together. I say, I'm not a ritualist. And he's like, that's fine. You defend the ritual. You know, and I'm like, oh yeah, of course. And he gathers up a couple of people who are ritual casters and gets them to help him with the ritual. And he says, while the ritual is going on, we need to make sure that none of the demons that come make it to the portal. They're not supposed to get into the portal. If they get into the portal, that's bad for us, right? They're going to try and stop us by getting into the portal. You got to make sure that they don't. I'm like, okay. Easy money. We'll kill the demons before they get to the portal. Let's do that. And this was very easy. Really. Except for the fact that except for the fact that one of the demon types was this very big boy who swung for like 10 elemental fire massive or something like that. Just an absolutely fucking nightmarish, monstrous swing for those of us who were defending. And thankfully some good healthy fighters came to our aid. But all I could do was basically stand in front of the portal and pray that I could ward off whatever it was that was going to get into the portal. The ritual proceeds behind me, and we're defending, and you know, all of that. And then one of the demons gets through, unfortunately. One of the demons manages to get in. I was side by side with my friend Dante, played by Matt. And he was just riptiding the demons away. He was casting Dredgecraft. He was going, I call upon the deep to inflict riptide, and like pushing demons away from the portal. It was so cool. It was so cool. It's very you know, he's been a healer for so long that it's awesome to see him using magic for hostile means. You know, I love it. I love seeing him hitting stuff with packets and murdering guys, you know. And Riptide is awesome. It's a great spell. It pushes things back like 5 steps and makes them take a knee for 3 seconds while they're stunned. And so he would push them back, they'd get stunned, and then a bunch of the fighters would just like kill the demon. Super cool. So the ritual continues. And as the ritual is ending, the NPC is like, no, we need something. There's something else. You! And he points at me, because I'm the only Salam worshiper in this whole fucking bundle. Come in here, and come into the ritual circle. You need to be in the circle when this ends. And so he pulls me into the circle. And I get to pull the stone for the ritual. I get to determine if we succeed or fail. I felt so loved. I felt so seen by that, you know? I felt like I was seen as a Salam worshipping character, you know? The Salam mod, and I get to do the thing, you know? And so I reach my hand into the little bag of stones, and there are 3 kinds of stones you can pull. There are white stones, black stones, and red stones. Black and red are bad. Black is a fail, red is a backlash, and white is a success. I reach my hand into the bag. I feel around for the correct marble, the marble of fate and destiny. And I reach in and boom! White stone, baby! Let's go! Let's go! White stone! Fucking succeed the ritual! Yeah! And so, there's a ritual hold where we're explained what the ritual does. The portal doesn't go to Salam's heaven, unfortunately. It ends up going to some fucked up far realm place. It's not good. We don't like it. But the ritual still grants the participants in the ritual Celestial Walk once per day each for the Warfront. Celestial Walk basically lets you teleport from anywhere to the nearest Shrine of Salam or to the portal we did the ritual on. So that's cool. You know, that's you know, that's cool. It just means I can get out of danger if I have to. I can just Celestial Walk away. Then a voice asks us, what do you want? And this is the voice, I assume, of Salam. And so like the greedy little mage that I am, the greedy little wizard that I am, I say, magic beyond magic. And Salam says, okay. And then my brain is assailed with all of the knowledge in the universe. The calculations of infinity. The absolute be-all, end-all of information beyond what a mortal mind can contain. And I am and I am afflicted by the equivalent of like 10 hallucinates, is what I was told. Like, you are seeing the very fabric of the universe. You are calculating the trajectory of the stars. You're visible. You can see the Matrix. You know what I mean? You're awakened as Neo. You know what I mean? And you understand reality as it is laid out before you. Can you vocalize any of that? No. Do you understand any of it to the point that you could really use it at all? Not really. You know what I mean? It is a fuck ton of information. It is way more than you can handle, and you are going to be fucked up for the next however long people leave you hallucinated, or until it wears off. I was told an hour. Right? Like, it'll wear off in an hour unless somebody, like, purifies you or whatever, and then it'll wear off, you know? I was like, okay. And then he adds, and while you are seeing the entirety of the calculations of the universe, you do, in fact, figure out one variable. While you're seeing these calculations, you can cast Ailstorm at will. You're so fucked up, you can make other people fucked up at will. And I was like, okay. So Ailstorm is a spell from the Dredgecraft spellbook, which allows you to deal 15 stamina damage to someone. People's stamina is equal to their HP most of the time. And stamina damage is the thing that makes you drunk. If you get to 0, you pass out. Immediately, I started abusing this. I was stumbling around for an hour, yelling about how I could see the universe and witness the calculations, and I even tried to write it all down. I was like scribbling in my notebook furiously, trying to write the calculations of the universe, and I brought it to this Salam NPC who was still there. When I had finished my scribbling, I came up to him and I'm like, I see the universe. I've written down the numbers that determine reality, you know? And he goes, no, those calculations are mine. And he's obviously as fucked up as I am. And he just like grabs my notebook and rips the pages out that have everything that I have written on it. And I'm like, you'll bring them to Salam, right? And he's like, yes, I will, you know? And we just have like this stupid fucking epiphany drunk ass RP, and it's so funny. It was excellent. For the next couple of waves of bad things, there were a couple of shattered elves, and there were also a couple of demons. I made a bunch of enemies so drunk they literally could not stand. I knocked them unconscious with infinite Ailstorms. And I also made lots of players very drunk by just stumbling around and being like, do you want to see the secrets of the universe? And then I would just touch cast innate Ailstorm on them. You know? I'm surprised nobody stopped me, to be honest. Very surprised nobody stopped me, forcibly. Because I was definitely influencing the discipline in the war front, you know? But it was pretty effective against demons and shattered elves and bad things, because it's basically body damage. It goes straight through armor. It's hitting your stamina, you know, and yeah. I even got into a duel with one of the dragon followers who'd just gotten like a really big buff, and I just grabbed him by the lapels and just channeled drunkenness into him, and we both ended up on the ground, me bleeding, him unconscious from alcohol. It was a good time. It's funny how role-playing being, like, super drunk, I actually, you know, like, I felt fucked up. Like, I don't remember it very well, to be honest. Like, if you pretend you're fucked up enough, you kind of get there. Eventually that wore off, and people kept coming up to me and being like, "Hey, do you still see the secrets of the universe?" And I'm like, "No, I'm sober now. I'm sober now." I lamented a whole bunch of times during the weekend that that was the second time I had touched godhood with this character. I had seen what it would be like to be a deity, to be power beyond power, and had it slip through my fingers and melt from my brain, you know? Classic Salam follower. Classic God of Magic ambition fucking asshole. Am I right? I am. I'm right. So, yeah. That's great. The last time I had been recreated as like a gray elf and a simulacrum of like a gray elf and had that knowledge briefly, and then had it deleted from my mind. So yeah, it's been twice. Twice I've had the knowledge of the gods slip through my fingers. The gray elves are like the ancient elves. They're like the progenitor species. I'm not gonna bother explaining further than that. Oh, I got an essence for doing that ritual, and we put the essence on the light pillar for that. Oh no, we didn't. We closed a portal. Yeah, no, we closed a portal with that essence. From that ritual. So we closed one of the portals that was nearby to like where people were getting food and stuff, so that people weren't always harassed by demons while they were trying to eat. Now, for those of you who don't know how the worship of Salam works, there are 5 do's and 5 don'ts, but the only really important one is, or there are 2 really important ones. One is never cap your ambition. Seek to replace Salam as the god of magic. That's one of the tenets. Every Salam worshiper should be trying to replace Salam. Because if you stop striving, you stop learning. And the other one is never let morality, the gods, the laws, or Salam himself stop you. Basically. Like, in that learning, don't let anything tell you no. Not even your own god. Nothing should limit your ability to learn, your ability to grow, your ability to take over for Salam. Right? That's it. These are the 2 very important Salam tenets. That and never destroy anything magical. If it's magic, if it's forbidden magic, if it's terrible magic, stow it away if you must, but never destroy it. Right? These are the important tenets. There's some other stuff about teaching and other bullshit, but I don't care about that. So, anyway, I want to be the god of magic, but currently, I'm a witch because I need witchcraft to have something that Salam doesn't have, because I know he doesn't have witchcraft because he's a fucking divine being, and divine beings don't touch witchcraft, right? Here's the thing. Being a witch means being sworn to a demon. It basically requires that you have some loyalty to a demon. Unfortunately. But Ixiad is the dragon of contracts. Okay? The dragon of contracts. So, she is the original creator of all demons. They just got out of her control. And, like, got away from her. And she wants control back. And so she has ways to bind demons to her will. And therefore grant witchcraft in a way that makes it undangerous if you are loyal to Ixiad. Okay? And the other thing that Ixiad can do is, in theory, grant you draconic magic. And draconic magic is very, very effective at fighting the divine. There's so much good stuff in draconic that basically goes like, no, actually no, divine people, no. And so I start thinking to myself, I am in Ixiad's land. Maybe I should have a conversation with this dragon. Maybe I should make a contract with Ixiad so that I can eventually get her to perform the rite of demonic injunction on my patron, bringing that patron under the control of Ixiad, making it so that I'm safe from retribution from my demon for pursuing another path, and becoming a Dragon Knight of Ixiad so that I can get Draconic magic. And in the contract with Ixiad that I would sign, I would say that I will continue to pursue my desire to become the god of magic, but that I will serve Ixiad. So I would try and ascend to a divine throne, seizing divine magic, while also having draconic magic from my master and witchcraft from the demons who serve my master. Boom, right? Whoa, okay, let's do it. Just to be clear, this is a terrible plan. This is a terrible plan. This is a very bad plan. But I don't know that in character. I just know that this is a way I could, in theory, do the thing that would get me to be the god of magic. Never cap your ambition. Never cap your ambition. Okay? Can't cap my ambition. Must keep going. Right? And this is the most ambitious thing I could think of. So, now I'm thinking to myself, how do I get in contact with Ixiad so that I can talk to this dragon and make a contract, right? So, all weekend, NPCs were coming out in big spider costumes and, like, wandering around, you know? Giving people a chance to fuck with the spiders. The one thing we were told not to do. Nobody did, because everybody respects that this is Ixiad's land, and doing anything to Ixiad's children on that land, bad fucking idea, right? Solidly F- plan. But, if I wanted to get a message to her, what if I gave it to a spider? And just, like, while it was going along its path, I just, like, tucked it in somewhere so that she'd find it. A little letter, you know? That seemed like my best option. So that's what I planned to do. The problem is, presentation is important, you know? And out of game, my handwriting sucks the big one. It's super bad. It's ultra shitty. I'm not a good handwriter. So I needed a friend to help me draft this whole jam. So I got a friend to help me write up this contract. Not a contract, but this request. Why don't actually, I could go and get the rough copy that I have of it, and I could read it to you. So this is the rough copy that I wrote of the message. To the most illustrious vision of the Draconic, I send my humble greetings. I wish to establish a contractual agreement in the pursuits of great magic for our mutual benefit. I would beg an audience with your august self to discuss the details. Awaiting your reply, with hope, Marika Devereaux. That's the rough copy. But I had a lovely friend, a lovely new friend of mine, calligraphy it up for me. So it was nice and fancy. We put it in an envelope, we sealed it with wax, and then I waited for my opportunity to deliver it via spider. Which didn't come until Sunday, but, you know, these things happen. I didn't want to sign my life away in the initial greeting, but I wanted to start working. You know, start working towards. I had some wonderful private conversations I can't get into because I only tell my own secrets and not other people's secrets. You know? Facts of life on these live streams. I am open with the fact that I am a terrible character who has lots of bad secrets that could get them killed, but I hate to share the other people's secrets that could get them killed because some people really do keep a lot of that stuff out of game, and I'm not a snitch. I'm just a snitch on myself. What else? Oh, one of the characters that I actually know ended up dying in defense of one of the demon Incursions, I'm not sure exactly which one because I was not present, I don't think. Ayla, the Leandrite, adherent to the Leandrite aspirant. Leandra is the mother of elves. Ended up meeting her final death about midway through the event. There was a funeral. There was a lot of, like, you know, light camp emotions about that. Marika didn't really have any feelings about that because she is cold. She's a cold, hard, calculating, ambitious asshole. But, you know, elves should be present for the elf funeral, and I was there, and it was fine, and thankfully the player had an extra character ready to get back in, and that's great. I think they took it pretty well. Finaling a character is always a difficult thing, and I really appreciate somebody who can jump back in with both feet and keep going. And that was great. And I got to speak to Atlakoya, their second character, a whole bunch during the weekend, because they're an aspirant of Ixiad. They want to become a Dragon Knight of Ixiad, so... A final death means non-resurrectable. Yes, basically means end of the character. Character is dead. Character is gone. Most characters have 2 free deaths, and then they have to start flipping a coin, and if you call the flip wrong, you die. Forever. So you get 2 free deaths, then you gotta start gambling. So, the demon incursions had been getting worse and worse and worse. Stronger and stronger and stronger on Saturday. Saturday afternoon, we went to hell! Saturday afternoon, we went to hell. We gathered up every single person from every single camp to make an incursion through one of the hell portals to silence a demon engine. The thing that was creating the portals, that was making our lives miserable. A demon engine. It is by this point, by the way, I forgot to mention on Friday night, that the demons also have a pillar. You know how I was saying there's a pillar of light, a pillar of savage, a pillar of draconic, a pillar of dark? Now the demons had a pillar as well, by the way, on Friday night, because they sacrificed some people or themselves on, like, the altar and grew their own pillar. So they have some influence as well, and their influence it was significant throughout the event. There was always, like, an edge of difficulty. I was pretty sure by this point that the dragons and the dark camp, the dragon camp and the dark camp were focusing on something other than growing the pillar and influencing the god, because they still had no growth on those pillars. So they must have been using their essences for something different. I found out later what that was. But so on Saturday afternoon into Saturday evening, we attacked hell. A counterattack. Yeah. We went into hell. Oh, excuse me. We marched into hell. The set piece was that there's a big keep, like a big castle, on the site that we were playing on. And that castle is the demon engine. We need to get in there with 3 codes that we'll get off of random NPCs that we kill. It'll be loot. The codes will be loot from random NPCs that we kill. We need to input those 3 codes and get the fuck out before it explodes. Because we need to, like, self-destruct it, basically. This was a pitched uphill battle. We were literally walking uphill to do this fight. We were confident initially, but it becomes a struggle, because the thing about NPCs is they have infinite resources, because they die, they respawn, they come in again, they die, they respawn, they come in again. Players don't have that luxury, right? We have a limited number of spell slots, we have a limited number of abilities, we can only do so much as we march forward. And we are getting pounded as we head up this hill. We are fighting the strongest demons. We're fighting these waves of NPCs. It was dramatic. It was dramatic. And all the while, a ton of, like, pink purple smoke grenades had been pulled all around us. And so there's just this, like, billowing smoke all around us, and the visibility is low, and there's like the torment of sort of marching through this whole place. I'm mostly focusing on running around behind our fighters and just hitting them with like buffs as I see their buffs drop off. I see someone loses a shield magic, I run over, I cast shield magic on them. I see someone gets hit by a paralysis, I run over, I cast dispel magic on them. I see someone, needs a magic armor, I cast a magic armor on them while they're fighting, like that kind of stuff. That's kind of my role. Is like I'm a support caster, I'm a force multiplier. That's what I do. I made a couple of people's weapons magical when they weren't, so they could hurt the demons, that kind of stuff. Eventually, it seems like we get the code. There's loud calls for people to come and put in their codes, and we run in, and I think what happened was we input one code, and then the call for leaving, like retreat, was sounded, and we hadn't gotten the other two codes. And so there was this mass confusion where the demon engine was getting louder and bigger and bad stuff was happening, but we didn't have two of the codes. And so everybody's running around yelling like, who has the codes? Check your pockets, whatever you've looted, check, see if you have the codes. Like people are digging through their pouches if they've looted anything, like checking to make sure they don't have these codes that we need to like fucking get this engine going. And eventually, these people find that they do have the codes. These little demons have dropped them, and these sort of newer players or less experienced players have gotten these codes. And we're sprinting back up the hill to the demon engine, like, go, 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 come on, we have to go really fast, put the codes in. We get the codes in, and then there's a call that in 3 minutes, this thing will explode. And if you're in hell when it explodes, you're probably dead. Everybody is running back to the portal at that point. Everybody is blitzing back to the portal. This crowd of like 120 people, all in armor and weapons, and yeah. Oh, so cool. So cool. And we make it back. Right. A few people get left behind, but not me. Not me, I'm a survivor. It's hard to describe to you the atmosphere of a LARP fight. There is an intensity that if I tried to describe to you what was actually happening would sound not intense, but in the moment, being there on the ground, it feels thrilling. It feels dangerous, right? It's awesome. It's super cool. It was a really good fight. It felt hard-earned. And so we blew up the demon engine. I just realized there was something I did before we blew up the demon engine. I'm going to loop back on that. I had a little smarty pants idea because I'm a little greedy player, and I had an ability I hadn't used yet, and we were going to reset for, spell memory. So I thought to myself, before we destroyed the demon engine, I thought to myself, why don't I see if I can get resources from Salam's temple to bring to the fight? I have a celestial walk, so I can travel an immense distance in a short period of time. Like, basically teleport across the world. So let's do it. I'm gonna celestial walk to Salam's temple. And then I'll rememorize, and I'll celestial walk back. Right? Seems good. So, I tried to do that. I celestial walked, and I went up to Plot, and I said, hey, Plot Camp, I celestial walked to the nearest Salam temple, and I appearing from celestial walk as an agent of Salam, I ask for assistance. I ask for aid. Anything that they can offer that will contribute to the war front. It's very important for the influence of a new god that will be birthed. Plot was like, okay. The elderly priest who is there gives you a shield magic and a ham sandwich. And I'm like, is it a good ham sandwich? And he's like, well, it has tomato in it, and he failed to mention that. So it's good if you like tomato. I'm like, okay, cool. All right. I just used my cool ability. I guess I'll take that. Sure. I did feel a little bit like I was getting bullied because I knew the organizer and they knew I could take it, if you know what I mean. But it did feel a little bad. I used the cool ritual thing to come do this, you know what I mean? But then I was like, okay, all right, well, I'll rememorize and I'll Celestial Walk back, right? And uh and then they say, oh yeah, well, you're using planar travel in this place where planar travel is prohibited, so take this hell portal with you to drop where you enter. And that felt really bad. That maybe the lowest point of my game was, oh cool, I used my special ability that you guys gave me specifically for only this event to come and try and do something smart and cool with it, and you've punished me and then punished me a second time. Neat. You know? It felt really great for me to have to open a portal that we close using fucking essence because I tried to be smart. I don't know. It's maybe my lowest point of the game, to be honest. And I went, all right. And I walked down the hill and I put down the fucking hell portal where I emerged and just sat back. I sent any used sandwich wrapper tag because of that. Did it ever come in? No, it didn't. I didn't even get a tag for the ham sandwich. I didn't even think to ask. I was just like, oh, okay, I'm getting fucked. All right, that's cool. And then I just, I went back. It's fine. There's only like the coolest fucking loot ever going out left, right, and center all over the goddamn place, but I try and do something smart and I get jack shit. Sick deal. I don't want to sound bitter. It was fine. I used 2 ritual level abilities to do that, Then we destroyed the Hell Engine, and I had a sweet free shield magic from the Salam Temple. I spent a lot of time in between doing, like sitting and talking and really introducing myself to a whole bunch of people and having good conversations. Thank you to anyone, by the way, who I wasn't familiar with or who I didn't know from other guilds and from other places who came around to my little circle and like sat around and chatted and stuff. I had a really good time with folks like Granite, who finaled this weekend. Rip Granite. Folks like Volley, the Paladin of Valder. Folks who I just like didn't know very well before this weekend, or who I didn't know at all. And who I made what I would consider to be like friends with. Spent a lot of time with my good buddy Victor, Darkweaver of Erasmus. Victor, always a solid friend to have on a battlefield. And of course, I hung out with Mike's character, Robert. I played the Haldoran and I loved you hypothetically. Yes, Rana! Yes! Okay, that conversation was excellent. I really enjoyed that conversation. That was what led to me telling my plan and getting a scribe to write my letter to Ixiad. There was a great conversation where someone, Rana and I were talking. We got into this, like, very hypothetically, if I was a witch, this is what I would do sort of conversation. And in the end, Rana was like, hypothetically, if you were a witch, could I get a contingency sleep maybe? And I'm like, hypothetically, if I was a witch, I don't know you that well. And she's like, good, you passed the test. Well done, you're a smart one. And then just like went, I'll see about that scribe for you, and like walked away. Super fun, super great. It was pretty hot and very, very spicy, warm, basically the whole weekend. Other than the last like day where it rained buckets. And so there was a lot of sitting in the shade recuperating and vibing. And a lot of fighting demons and a lot of waves of bad things and a lot of that kind of stuff. Saturday night, I went to bed pretty early. I want to say I went to bed around like 11. I heard that my patron demon was like walking around talking to people in camps and stuff, and I missed it. I fucking missed Rose on the war front. Ugh. God. Fuck. Okay? Annoyed. But, you know, that's the price you pay when you go to sleep. That's what happens when you go to bed. Sunday morning, I did another mod with Light Camp. So these spirits wander into town, and they're like soldiers from the other side of the war. They're like spirits of the enemy, basically. The human enemy. I don't know what they're called. They're like the Church of the Eclipse, I think. They're like the Hell King's mortal soldiers. But their bodies cannot be laid to rest because they are trapped by some spiders in Ixiad's realm. They need their bodies laid to rest. And so our local Cassandrite is like, we'll do anything to help these spirits that we can. We'll go and get their bodies and lay them to rest. But I'm like, hey, so are we gonna disrupt the spiders if we do this? Because that sounds like a really bad plan. And she says, no, there's a spider who talks. We can negotiate with that spider for the bodies. I'm like, okay, spider who talks. I still have my letter that I need to deliver. I'm like, this is my perfect opportunity to meet a spider who might be able to deliver my letter to Ixiad. Okay, let's go negotiate with spiders for the bodies of some fucking dumbasses, all right, who are on the other side of the battle. Do I care about them? Not even a little bit. Not even slightly. I don't even fucking care even a little bit. But I'll go. It's me, Theo, Corin, Mungus, and Atlacoya. And Atlacoya is there because of Ixiad stuff. You know, Atlacoya is there because they're an aspirant of Ixiad and they were asked to come and help negotiate with the spider. Right? Makes sense. I was like, we don't need them. We don't need them. You don't know this, but I'm also trying to do that, but you don't know this, so fuck it. Or sure, they can come, whatever. Off to the little spider cave area. There's like webs everywhere. We have to like walk over, try not to disturb things. There's all kinds of like crazy good loot just like sitting in the webs, but I was sure that if I took any of it, we would be absolutely screwed. So just like Aladdin in the Cave of Wonders, I did not touch anything but the lamp. Now, the spider brought out this little board, and the board had a bunch of pegs on it that had, like, things you would have to do, you know, or things you would have to give. Like, in the center of the board, there was, like, a minor tribute. And then around the edge of the board, there's things like a whole Galbrazu, you know, great tribute, do a great favor, you know, so on and so forth, right? What we had to do was we had to wrap a string around the pegs until the string ran out. And once the string ran out, that was all the stuff we had to pay. So dangerous, expensive stuff was far away from the center. So it would mean doing less things total. But small, less expensive stuff was all around there that you could just like wrap the string around and like we would have to do more, less expensive stuff. You know what I mean? And that was like how we negotiated with the spider. Now, at the beginning of this, I said, I have a great tribute in the form of a contract. But the people who were paying things in and doing the, you know, talking and whatever, Theoclia and Mungus and Corin, they either they didn't hear me or they were ignoring me. And so what I did was I just stood back and I waited. I stood back and I let everybody else pay for things. I paid for nothing. I paid none of this tribute. It was like letters of true names and vials of blood and all kinds of like very important things that you shouldn't give up just like because. And I managed to get out of this basically giving away nothing. And then at the end, I slipped my letter to the talking spider and I was like, this is a letter for your mother. Please see that she gets it. Nice little envelope with Ixiad written on it. Excellent. Sealed with wax. My perfect little messenger. Good deal. And so we walk out. And we're laying the spirits to rest. We're laying their bodies to rest now that we've claimed their bodies. And as we're laying them to rest, we're told, oh, the spirits tell you about a secret cache of resources and weapons that they've like laid aside, and that since you've put them to rest, you can know the location and you can get the stuff. We're like, okay, cool. So we went to go get the secret cache of stuff, and inside there are a bunch of weapons, there are a bunch of resources, and also the spirits enchanted the weapons of anybody whose weapon was mundane to make them swing for magic. Like, make them magical, a 0 magic aura. The only item I took from inside the cache was a magic sword. Everybody had just been given magic weapons, basically except for me, because I already had a staff that was magic. And so I claimed the only magic item in the name of Salam. And nobody argued with me. That was nice. Claimed a magic sword. The magic sword was not identified, so I needed to get it identified. So I went to go get it identified by my dear friend Jalen, who is the identifying monkey of the whole event. He must have identified like 40 items. And so we go to identify it, and it turns out it is a magic sword with a +2 magic aura, which means it swings for +2. So instead of swinging for 2 magic, it would swing for 4 magic base, right? Which is pretty good. Now, if this was a 2-handed sword, I'd have given this to my dear friend Robert in a heartbeat, but unfortunately not. It was not a 2-handed sword. It was a 1-handed sword. And so I had no physical use for this. So after a little bit of lazing around, thinking about whether I wanted to keep it or not, I went to one of the local Erasmus followers, and I asked him to give me a valuation on it. Erasmus is the god of greed. He's the god of merchants and trade, and generally just like the god of building big piles of money. So I thought, if anybody knows what a magic sword with a +2 aura is worth, it'll be this guy. So I talked to him. I said, hey, Kieran, what valuation would you give this? And I showed him the sword. And he, immediately his eyes lit up. And he says, let's talk over here. And, you know, we shuffle over to a slightly more secret location. And he says, I want this. I want this. I said, okay, you want this. What are you gonna give me for it? You know, what do I get? And he says, well, what do you want? And I say magic. I want magic. Maybe a different magic item, something I can use, or something like that. He goes, okay, well, I have these spell books. I'll trade you 2 whole books of spells for the magic sword. 2 whole books of spells, by the way, is probably about 80 gold worth of stuff. Just about 80 to 100 gold worth of stuff. And it was a full nature spellbook and a full psionic spellbook, 2 that I didn't have. I thought, well, you know, what's the use case in that? Like, what am I gonna do with those? Like, really, it's trade bait for me. Like, a full spellbook is nice, but it's not value for me. And he says, well, I need this sword because I'm going to use it, right? And that changes things for me, because as a worshiper of Salam, seeing a magic seeing a magic sword used is much better than seeing it in the pocket of like a greedy guy who tries to resell it. He says, this is going to be my sword, the sword that I use day to day. I was like, okay, cool. Sounds good. I trade the magic sword for 2 spellbooks, 2 whole spellbooks, and a bunch of loose, like, level 9 scrolls, like an exorcism, a circle of protection scroll, I think there was a suspension in there. I don't really remember, but I was basically like, I need a little bit more value on top of the spellbooks, and so he provided it. And, you know, we got our business relationship going. That felt good. And the fact that he's going to use the magic item means I feel good about it, right? I want loot to go to people who will use the loot. Yeah, other trades that I made during the weekend, I mean, this is a little out of order, but I traded a secret that I bought for 2 gold that I didn't know the contents of to the Dark Church people in trade for several books. One of the books was a book called High Elven Love Stories, and then in brackets, Vivid Imagery. And I just had to have that tag. I had to have it. So I have what might be High Elven Karma Sutra. And I also, yeah, one of the other books was a Common to High Elven dictionary. You know, in case you need a dictionary to read the other book, you know? In case you're not a High Elf and you want to read High Elven love stories, I also have a Common to High Elven dictionary. NPC shift. This is a thing that you do at Underworld events if you want to contribute voluntarily to the overall atmosphere of the game and, you know, generally help out along the various plot camp things. You go out to play NPCs, you know? Go out to play NPCs. You go out to play stuff. So I went up to do my NPC shift. I got to hug Siobhan for the first time in the weekend. I missed her so much. I missed her so much. My lovely partner, she was on NPC team the whole weekend, and she was the greatest, but I missed her. I missed her goddamn so much. Gave her a little hug in plot camp, and I settled in to do whatever it was that we were going to do first. So the first thing that we were told we were going to do, Ember spiders had afflicted some of Ixiad's spiders, and they were trying to take over the nest. Demonic spiders were gonna hurt the spiders of Ixiad. This is unacceptable, obviously. And so, Corey, who is running the mod, the shaper who is running the mod, came out, pointed at me, and said, "Violet, you're gonna hook the mod." Violet's my name. And I was like, cool, okay, what am I doing? And he's like, garb up as a Dragon Knight of Ixiad. Okay? I'm like, okay. And you're gonna run in and you're gonna be distraught. You're gonna be trying to recruit people to come and help you destroy these demonic spiders. You're gonna be like really, really distraught. You're gonna be unhappy. These are your babies. These are your spiders. These are your little sweet little fluffy spider babies that are getting hurt by these demons, and you need to stop them. And you need to recruit players to do it. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm playing like a Dragon Knight spider tender. Done. So I go get on some black and red. That's the colors of Ixiad. I draw a little spider web on my face for the dragon mark. And I'm ready to go. The spiders, the people playing spiders go out and, you know, they take up position in the little spider nest place, playing the Ember spiders. And I go to Dragon Camp to start. I walk all the way up the site to where the Dragon Camp is, and I come into the Dragon Camp, and I'm going like, I need help desperately. My poor babies are under attack by the demonic. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, the spiders are being corrupted. You have to help me. The nest is under attack. You know, like doing all that kind of stuff. And they're like, whoa, of course we'll help you. We just need to gather some people. And I'm like, no, there's no time. We have to go now. Every single second that we wait, every single second is bad for my babies. You know, like, just so sad, so distraught, like, complete fucking emotional breakdown Dragon Knight. And then I'm, like, angry, and I'm marching away, and I'm like, come with me quickly. You know, and I'm marching away. And players are like grabbing their armor and like garbing up and like grabbing their weapons and like running to catch up with me, you know, because I was told don't wait around. I was told like this is important that you go fast, and the longer they take, the harder these Ember spiders will be. Like the longer they take, the more corrupted this nest will be. So don't wait around. Make them run fast, you know. And I was like, okay, I can do that, you know. And I sort of drag this column of panicking players behind me through town. And in doing so, a bunch of people are like, what's going on? And I'm like, the spiders are in danger! And after all, everyone has been told, don't mess with the spiders. Right? Everyone has. Ixiad said so. And people have come to like the spiders. The spiders are cute, and they wander through town, and they do little spider stuff, and you don't mess with them. You know? And so even people who weren't part of the Dragon Camp were like, the spiders! And they like grabbed their shit and started coming along, you know, following along in this big column of players. which was very adorable. And so we get to the lair, and I linger at the doorway, and I gesture people in, and I'm like, please go in, deal with the ember spiders. I'll be out here, and I'll come down once it's safe, you know? And they're like, aren't you a dragon knight? I'm like, I'm a dragon knight, but I'm a spider keeper, okay? I'm not like a combat dragon knight, all right? I do the paperwork, and I tend the webs, okay? They're like, okay, all right. I shepherd them all in, and then fighting begins. It's this big column of people in this very small area. Spiders getting killed, boom, boom, boom. Place gets cleared up. I do a little bit of casual RP with the people around me. You know, I give them my name. I talk about, like, who I am and, like, what I do, and thanks for coming to help and all that kind of stuff. When it seems like things are coming to a close, I walk into the nest, and I do the, like, thank you, everyone, for helping me cleanse the nest. I have these corrupted eggs. I'm going to do my best to uncorrupt them, using my draconic magic. And we will rebuild this. We will rebuild this colony. You're all very appreciated. Thank you. Are any of you followers of Ixiad? You know, and the people who are step forward. There's maybe two. There's Atlakoya and another person. I think it was Cyrus. I think. And I say, would you accept a dragon mark of Ixiad? And I reach out and I cast dragon mark on them. This is sort of like like a blessing, you know, but like the dragon version. And so it's kind of a big deal for characters who haven't had that before. And so I got to give people some dragon marks of Ixiad for their help, and I sent them on their way. I was like, please don't disturb the webs as much as you can, you know, on your way out, and thank you for your help, and all that kind of thing. I felt really good. I don't know if I was picked out particularly to hook the mod because Corey knew I could be a distraught dragon knight, yelling about their babies or anything like that, but as a shift NPC, as someone coming in to do grunt work, you know what I mean, to play crunchies and to follow orders, it's always nice when it's clear you're trusted enough to do the thing that sort of hinges the mod, if you know what I mean, hinges the situation. Always nice. So I appreciate that. I like playing roles where I get to roleplay a little bit. I think I'm pretty good at it. The next two things we went out as were demons and another wave of demons. I played a Balrog and I played a Balrog. That was basically that. We went, we fought, we died. I had some dramatic combats and stuff. You forgot about the fight at first meeting of Adremelech, Demon Prince of Tyranny on Saturday. I was not part of that. And so I never met him. Sorry. I met him on the last mod. That's kind of it. I was probably asleep when that happened. Unfortunate. But, you know, happens. The last thing that we did on NPC Shift was there was a mod for the Dark Church, where we were playing the Greater Skeletons, defending an NPC named Samara, who was becoming a lich, or trying to become a lich. And I don't know her backstory. I'm not a big lore person, you know what I mean, when it comes to Warcries and Underworld in general. I'm sure she was important. I don't know her deal. She was very cool. Seemed like a badass boss bitch, and I love that for her. But we were there to defend a ritual of her becoming a lich. This was a mod where I felt the intensity. Even on the NPC side, I could feel the intensity in the combat. When players finally arrived, we Greater Skeletons were in a regimented line with the Death Knight, the person who was playing the Death Knight, and we were following orders. He said, take one step forward, and we took a step forward. Another step, another step, and we were just like pushing in and pushing in and pushing in, you know what I mean? And I was toe-to-toe with some people who I'd come to know throughout the weekend, fighting as a skeleton, and feeling pretty good about that, and I hope they enjoyed the combats they did have with me. It was very intense. For a second, I thought people were gonna run away. It felt like it could have gone badly if not for a couple of clutch abilities from players and clutch moments against NPCs and so forth. We had a stacked team. It was like there was a Death Knight, a Death Mage, a Banshee, two Death Rogues, and a bunch of Greater Skeletons. Like no lesser undead in sight. All big boys defending the ritual circle. I got my ass beat, as you do as a skeleton. though I did get a few licks in here and there. I felt like I did okay, generally. I got a clutch hamstring off in one or two places. Yeah, Siobhan played the Banshee, and she is a Banshee Scream queen. She does that scream and throw the death, and scream and throw the death. Excellent. Excellent vibes. Strong vibes. So that was the last thing we did, and once I got off of NPC shift, I was so exhausted, I was, like, pretty sure I had heat stroke going back into game. I was pretty sure I had some heat exhaustion. And so I drank a lot of water. I sat down in my comfy chair in the middle of my protection circle, and I chilled for, like, 2 or 3 hours, is what I meant to say. But I chilled there for a while. Talking with the various people who came through, having a good time, defending against some demons, and it was nice. On regular mods or regular demon incursions, I never felt like I was in danger because I was always in the protection circle, so I could just boop, protection circle, good luck getting through that. Good luck getting through that, Balrogs and Hellhounds, good luck getting through that. Haha, ha ha ha, ha ha. I do think some people may have considered my gameplay style a little selfish and cowardly, but to them I say, what am I supposed to do against demons? I protection sigil. And if I use the stuff I could kill demons with, you wouldn't like me. So, yeah. I mean, Sunday night was a bit of a thing. So, lots of big demon waves, dangerous fighting, dangerous thrilling. We're trying to defend the acorn and the pillars because the demons have gotten quite a lot of influence on the pillars, and it's very important that we don't let them. And so there was a lot of, there's a lot of like tension in the air and people trying to work together to make sure the demons didn't break through and get more sacrifices off or any of that kind of thing. There was one situation where they did. An army of the Shattered Sun, or the Eclipse, the Church of the Eclipse, came in with like a big demon with them. I think it was a Queen of Ravens, and they were throwing all kinds of witchcraft, and they had witch hunters, and they had sword shield guys, and they were like regimented NPCs ready to fight, right? And they were like blocking off the pillar area from us and trying to like do a ritual to increase the power of hell. Long story short, we failed to defend the pillar in that instance. There was so much coming at us. They were nasty. They were basically PvP. Yeah, it was like they were playing like players, and so there was lots of like arcane twists of the tongue and executes and like big witchcraft spells and lots of race change toads. I dispelled like 5 or 6 people from race change toad, all that kind of stuff, right? It was like sort of a big PvP battle, but like with NPCs. And the fucking Queen of Ravens was like unkillable. They were just massive, like fucking monstrous huge. And so we didn't manage to beat them. And after that, there was a lot of big speeches about like, we've got to make sure that never happens again. We've got to make sure it never happens again. We've got to make sure we keep them off of the pillar, and people are gonna stay here and guard it and stuff. And as night fell, that's what we did. We defended the pillar against the demons, big demons. But it got really dark and really rainy, and the torches that were used to keep like light going were not very good in the wind, and they would like blow out. And so it was like pitch black when we got down to like late night demon fighting. And people got pretty intense. People got pretty intense. And we did have a very serious injury, which kind of ground things to a halt for a little while. And I went to bed shortly after it happened, but one of the players collided with another player, I think it was, and they broke their wrist and maybe their leg on the fall. Like, it was like full tilt, adrenaline fueled fighting, and the player fell and hurt themselves really bad, right? It was nobody's fault. It's just like a circumstance of like darkness and adrenaline and speed and bad things happening and rain and slippery grass and fucking, you know, shit happens, right? That's why we all sign waivers. But, you know, that kind of thing sobers an evening a little bit, and everybody was kind of a little bit out of character, you know, during the soft lay on after once things had sort of settled down. And so I thought, you know, like, Plot's probably not going to be doing anything else tonight. I doubt it. So I'll go to bed. That just seemed like the smart move. Like, I didn't really want to sit around and be morose. I knew that the person was being taken care of. I didn't know them very well, though we had conversations in passing, and it sucks that they got hurt. I heard third hand, fourth hand that they're in good spirits and that the game was really fun right up until that point. So, you know what? Sometimes shit happens and you can't do anything about it, and that's okay. And I got a fantastic night's sleep. I'm not gonna lie. Sleeping in the cabin that I was sleeping in Wayne's cabin. Oh, that cabin is excellent. Super great. Super cool. Very good. Very comfortable. I am very grateful to Wayne for letting me stay there. It saved me having to set up a tent, and it saved me from the rain. Because it rained Sunday night. And I mean rain. I mean like fucking buckets. I mean it came the fuck down out of the sky, you know? Which is so funny because it had been so hot and so dry the rest of the weekend, basically. And that rain sort of continued all the way into Monday. And all the way till the end of game. It was raining. The fine ladies of the Oak and Acorn lent me a nice heavy cloak so that I didn't get wet and cold. So I appreciate them for that. A nice red velvet cloak. It even went with my outfit, you know? So nice of them. Because my cloak would probably not have kept me that warm. It would have kept me dry, but it wouldn't have kept me that warm. The place where I'd put my little ritual circle, or not my ritual circle, my little protection circle, had a little awning, and I was mostly dry, sitting around on Monday morning, waiting for things to kick off. Monday morning, I was mostly sitting around talking to people who came to hide under the awning with me, and hanging out. I knew there was going to be one big climactic fight. That's usually how it goes. There's a couple of wake-up mod hellhounds, a little bit of stuff going on, and you know, what have you. But I was waiting for the climactic fight. And boy, was it a climactic fight. Boy, was it climactic. Big rain, big demons, the Prince of Hell. Well, one of the Princes of Hell, or their avatar, was present on the battlefield. The only way the prince could be harmed was he could be struck by an arcane hammer for a 10-second stun. During that stun, somebody had to clip a chain to his belt or to one of the carabiners on his costume. After the stun happened, he would pulse death. And so if you were near him, you'd get fucking destroyed. The Dragon Camp was in charge of stunning him, and they had chains. It looked like the Dark Camp had chains too, but that they were different chains. I don't really know what was going on there. I think it was a competition between Ixiad and Bog to see who could bind the demon to their will. As far as I understand, that was what was happening. But I was not privy to any of this information. I was basically a bystander for this fight, and that's how I played it. I stood the fuck back. I used my circle of protection judiciously, and I engaged with demons I thought I could kill. There were a couple of points during this fighting where Colin's demon, the demon that Colin was playing, some very powerful demon that was swinging like 25 elemental fire, and like just fucking ignored basically everything that happened to it, would come after me, and I got my protection circle ritually dispelled once, which was very annoying. I had to run and hide and so forth, and I thought, oh, let's be a little trickster and try and get this demon in a place where no one's gonna hear what I say, right? And I get a situation where it's just me. It's me and Colin, basically. And I cast Penetrating Curse of Pain on him, hoping to maybe, like, slow him down a little bit so he's taking damage every time he swings his weapon or something like that. And he calls Arcane Resist. So I was like, oh, all right. Great. Good. Fuck. And then I ran away. And he turned to engage somebody else. I came back at him another time when he tried to, or when I saw him take a spell effect, when I saw him go like, ah, from something, I ran up and tried to touch cast Shatter Skull into him. But he called no effect. So I don't know why no effect, but no effect, apparently. I don't know why, but it didn't work. So I backed the hell up again. You know, so I put a little bit of witchcraft out on the field, during that, which was fun. I do like getting to cast some of my offensive magics, and there was too much going on. There's so much loud shit happening that, like, no, I was fine. Nobody noticed what I was doing. There was a really great moment where I had my Circle of Protection up, and the avatar of the Prince of Hell, Adremelech, came around to my circle, and he was standing in front of my circle menacingly, and I'm on the other side. And I'm like, oh shit, he's gonna dispel my circle. He's gonna dispel my circle. Fuck. You know, I am gonna get absolutely obliterated by this goddamn demon prince. And he stops, and I bow. I do a little, like, you know, little bow to him, and I go, it's not often I meet someone of your august presence. You know, it's not often I meet someone of your royal majesty. And he says, we'll put down the circle then. And I'm like, but I'm also not an idiot. And he's like, ugh. And he, like, walks away. It was this great little, like, short RP during a big fight. You know what I mean? That felt really good. This tiny little RP. Big dramatic fight. I was in and out of my Circle of Protection a fair number of times. I burned a Circle of Protection scroll at one point to make sure I didn't get murdered. At the end, one of the Dark Church people, Asterion, big minotaur with a big sword, got obliterated. And so did several other people who were less lauded. Then the Bog Church, you know, was all like, we need to bring him back. Give us your blood. We'll bring back our champion. We've destroyed the demon prince's avatar. You know, all that stuff. And people did. And I got to use my Blood Reaver ability for the only time during that game to draw blood from myself to pour into the cup of blood for the Bog worshippers in a very game-recognized game sort of manner. I felt pretty good about that. Then we got to witness the birth of a new god. In the end, the Savage influence won out. Savage was the highest pillar. And a new god was born, whose name I fucking cannot remember. It was like Thessalonius or something. I fucking don't remember. What I do remember is shaking his hand and him saying, Theodizio. Yeah, Theodizio. Sorry. I remember shaking his hand, and I remember him saying, I saw the secrets of the universe in your head. Or, sorry, they. Yes, they. You're right. They, God. They, God. They be God. Sorry. I wasn't very involved in all of this. I heard most of it secondhand. But I shook their hand, and they said, I saw the secrets of the universe in your head. It was very exciting. And I was like, did I teach this god the secrets of the universe by absorbing them into my brain? If I didn't, I'm gonna tell everyone that I did. So, that was nice. Take that, Salam, you bitch! I taught this god the secrets of the universe! After a big battle, there's always a big wind down. There's always lots of shaking hands and congratulating and doing last-minute trades and swapping stories and all that kind of stuff. I know my description of battles has not been very vivid, but it's hard. It's hard to describe the intensity of a LARP combat. It really is like its own thing, and I hope one day that I can stream some of it for you or something, that you can see. You can see these things for yourself. Maybe when I'm a big successful badass and I can get an IRL backpack together, we'll figure it out, you know? I'll see if I can. It was a really, 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 really good game. So good. I had the best time. And it was nice to see people that I knew from my previous character, to, you know, meet from my various, my various times LARPing. I've been playing Underworld for like 10 years now. This is definitely one of the best games I've been to. I find the long weekends really hard. It's a little long for me, but even then. Standout moments for me, obviously, are the ritual for Salam, the agonizing over whether or not I was gonna send the letter to Ixiat or not. I didn't ever get a reply, but I expect a reply, you know, like, maybe in my home guild. I didn't really expect a reply at Warcry. I really enjoyed all the fighting. I really liked the intensity. It felt like people were really coming together to, like, fight against fucking impossible odds, because if we weren't together, we would have definitely died. Like, it really did require that we joined hands with our erstwhile enemies and, like, fought against a mutual badness, you know? I liked playing this character who got to sort of be in every camp and be in no camp, almost. I walked around and I talked to lots of people, and no matter who I went up to, if I was like, I am a follower of Salam, you know, people were like, oh yeah, I fuck with Salam. Salam's cool. It's whatever, you know? And that felt good. I enjoyed trying to be a greedy, ambitious wizard and trying to embody that as best as I could. Sometimes that was being selfish with my spells. Sometimes that was being generous with my magic to prove that I was powerful. And speaking quietly and hypothetically about my very illegal, very illicit witchcraft stuff. Big highlights when I get to do that. Plot was great. You guys put in a fuck ton of effort, and big respect for the people who were working all weekend to make the game great, because it paid off. Even the NPC shift felt like really regimented and like ordered, and I got to do things and see stuff, and like even that was really fun. Big ups to my obliterated friends. Oh, summoning Baldur, right. Yeah. So I really love it. Like, I really love people who can take center stage, obviously, and like as a player, like make the story move in a direction, you know, and so forth. And Perthro was doing that all weekend. He was yelling and directing people and getting stuff going and stuff. But he's also like a veteran LARPer. You know what I really love? People who are relatively new to LARP stepping up and being that person too, right? And my friend who plays Thorgar, the Einhar aspirant of Valder, Thorgar fucking killed it in the last little bit. Perthro was getting ready to make a big speech after we destroyed the demon avatar, and Thorgar comes up and like interrupts him basically and is like, no, we have to go up the hill. Valder is coming, you know, and leads everybody up the hill to the keep where Valder is gonna meet us. And you know, he's been playing for like a year, and he was like taking the front column of like 120 people. I know how nerve-wracking that is, you know? I know the confidence it takes to like interrupt somebody who has like basically been sort of the leader the whole time. And Thorgar, in the center of everyone, goes, Valder is coming. I will say the words. And he kneels. And he's praying. And he says Valder's words. You know, the words that Valder has given to him. In this big circle of players. And I can see the NPC off to the side, who is Valder, waiting for a cue. You know, I can sort of see them in the bushes to my left. And Thorgar does like a quiet prayer. And then stands and then says, Valder will come. But the NPC doesn't move. And I think to myself, okay, we gotta do something about this. And I step forward and I say, Thorgar, should we chant his name? And Thorgar goes, yes! Valder! 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 And everybody starts chanting, Valder! You know, like, as we've been doing, like, for Bog, as we've been doing for various gods, you know, like, big chants with everyone, you know. And then the NPC, comes out with the cue and drops from the sky, you know, and presents himself as like the father of this new savage god, you know, and like goes and helps us birth this god. Sometimes you gotta give a friend a little push, just a little push. Don't take the spotlight, just guide the spotlight, you know? It was so cool. And Tim, you fucking killed it. Thorgar, you fucking killed it. You did so good. I know how nerve-wracking that can be. It was a fucking banger. It was a good-ass game, okay? It was so good. I hope we get to do another one sometime. Yeah, I mean, like, my only complaints are my lackluster Celestial Walk, and I mean, that's about it. I mean, big enemies I couldn't really do anything about. I basically couldn't hurt anything on the field, you know? And I'm not a speed looter, so I got almost nothing. I saw some of the hauls that some people were getting, and I was green with envy. I was so jealous, but I'm chill. Loot's not what the game is about. It's fine. The experience, the vibes, the roleplay, fucking green with envy, but it's fine. It's okay. That's what I get for being sort of a solo bolo character, you know, all out on my own. It was good. It was damn fucking good. I don't even know what to say after that.